Now, at some point while you're playing Enshrouded, you'll probably want to start looking for amber. Various reasons why you'll want it, but it's mostly to do with making armour. So, for example, if we go and check in with Balthazar here, there we go. We need amber to make the actual mage set, for instance. If we go and ask Oswald, on the other hand, you're going to need that for things like the actual tank set over here. That's one of the actual items required to make that as well. So, where do you actually find amber? Well, this is amber here. Pretty easy enough to get. I mean, just dig it with your pickaxe basically and start to get that amber. And where actually is it? Well, it's here. I mean, it's showing a flame shrine here where I'm standing. You don't actually see a flame shrine right here. It's fairly close by. But key things to point out are, well, this is Lone Thistle where we're next to. If you've gone far enough into the game, there is the Ancient Spire for Revelwood. In other words, you need to head south from there. On the other hand, here is the Ancient Spire for Springlands, and from there you would travel northeast. So, if that's all you want to know, where actually can I find amber? It's between those two key points. Just to give you a bit more perspective, this is where we start off in the game, Cinder Vault. But again, it's pretty easy to find because you should at least get that marker at some point early on in the game. So that gives you a reasonable idea, hopefully, as to where to find amber. Now, if you haven't already been to that area where the amber is, there's probably a couple of ways you can get to there. I mean, we've got the Ancient Spire for Revelwood up here, and that's where we want to be heading to. On the other hand, we've got the actual Spire for Springlands here, and again, that's where we want to head to. I mean, so it depends where you're at in terms of your gameplay, because if you've discovered that, it's probably easy to just head south from here. Now, if you're early in the game and you're trying to get, say, like the mage armour, for instance, then chances are you've only discovered this, and now it's a case of, well, where can I find amber? So I'm going to assume that's the case, because this is probably the harder path to follow, which is to go to the spire here. And what we're going to do is aim for this area here. So we've got our shroud patch over here, but we want this shroud patch, which is just beyond what is Mistbury Catacombs. Now, chances are you've probably got a quest, and that might just show up as a bunch of question marks, but it's fairly easy to spot. I mean, if you look to the north, just above my head, there's a little building. That's a good reference marker to use. Then you've got this hill area, which is this place here. So that's a good reference for you. Now, how you get beyond there really depends. What I'm doing is I'm using the worst glider that you can get in the game. So I can't literally glide in that direction. I'm going to have to come off here and just start heading north and work my way around. So it really depends. I mean, if you've got like a super duper glider, I mean, I've used the top one, level 1, and I can literally glide all the way over there if I wanted to. But this is the worst glider you can get. It's the one you start off with. So just to be able to cover things for all folks, if you will, that's why I'm going in this direction. So we've just hit the ground and basically we're just going to start heading north. I mean, keep an eye on the actual spire for Revelwood over there. Also that hill area over there. Just so you can keep your bearings, because I mean, you don't want to end up in that shroud to the right. There's no point. We want to go beyond that. Now it's pretty easy, the path, at least for most of the travel that we're doing, because you're going to be up against just wolves, and usually they just lose interest in you after a while. I mean, I suppose a lot depends on your stamina. I'm just going to keep running and then I'll have to slow down every now and again just to get my breath back. Okay, so just keeping north basically, and I'm keeping that hill to my right. I mean, that little building should show up at some point. Yeah, no, that's a tree. It's easily confusing. There it is there. That's where we're heading in, essentially, but I'm just going to keep heading in this northerly direction, and I'm going to start heading towards the east at some point, as soon as I can. I'm just going to wait until I get past that hill area. Now, what we're doing is we're heading for Lone Thistle, which you may not necessarily know about, but we'll literally run into it. And the amber's just past that. So I'll just keep going. Now, at some point we'll start running into boars, which might be in this area just outside of the shroud. But then we'll probably run into some more as soon as we get into the shroud. So if you notice, I'm starting to veer off towards the east now. So we're just coming out to the point where the hill's opening, is ending basically. I'm just going to ignore these. And I'm going to just head down to here. So we're now in the shroud. So this is where it's a bit tricky, because you've got these things coming after you. I'm keeping this hill to my right a bit. Shortly we'll start to see Lone Thistle showing up. Yeah, I'm literally outside of Lone Thistle. So we might start attracting attention from here as well. So this is something to bear in mind, but the amber should start to show up any minute. There it is there. So there's the amber that we found before. So I'm just gonna, I mean, if you're lucky, those boars will have left you alone. I mean, the blue ones that you find in the shroud, they're probably the worst because they've got like a ranged attack. But there you go. That's how we get to here. If you want to go from the Ancient Spire and the actual Springlands here. Otherwise, like I say, the alternative option is just to use the one over here and the Revelwood. It's probably a lot simpler. But if you want to get out, well, entirely up to you basically. I mean, you can try getting out in that direction, I suppose, dig your way out if possible. Just curiosity to see if we can do that. Because this takes you into this place here. So that's a possible way out. Let's head into here, because I don't want to give too much away, but chances are you'll probably go in this direction anyway. Let's see if we can get the higher height from here. Ooh, rats. So there we go. So I'm now out of the shroud now. So once I've kind of like dealt with the rats, or just ignore them, I could just fast travel out from here anyway, because we're outside of the shroud. And I suppose that's quite useful because it gets you to the flame shrine over here as well, so that's quite useful. But yeah, it's not too difficult. I mean, just coming off here and kind of like veering off to the east once you're past that hill area. I mean, there's some hassle, if you will, in the way, but you're going to have to keep an eye on the timer, because that's what it's going to come down to. You've only got a certain amount of time in the shroud, but I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to find amber in Enshrouded.